is a longevity award for Phillip Rivers because he's never won a Super Bowl. He's never been to the Super Bowl. He's only been to one conference title, conference championship game. He's never been a first-team All-Pro, and he's won 5 playoff games in his career. Now, people are like, well, he hadn't had anybody. He had a first-ballot Hall of Famer in LaDainian Tomlinson, who is arguably one of the greatest all-around backs in all of football, in the history of football. He had him basically for LT's whole career. He had another first-ballot Hall of Famer in tight end Antonio Gates. So to say he hasn't had anything offensively would not be true. If Kurt Warner couldn't get in on the first ballot with a Super Bowl MVP, Skip, and remind people now, he had 2, as a matter, if I'm not mistaken, before Brady broke them all, he had the 3 greatest passing days in Super Bowl history. He's a 2-time league MVP. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He went to 3. He's a 2-time first-team All-Pro. He went to 4 Pro Bowls, passing touchdown leader twice, 3-time completion percentage leader, and he won the passer rating twice. And he didn't get in on the first ballot. Phillip Rivers getting in on the first ballot. He played 17 years, has 8 Pro Bowls, led the league in interceptions twice. Like I said, they judge it. They go put who they want to put in. But if Kurt Warner couldn't get in on the first ballot, I don't know how you put Phillip Rivers in on the first ballot.
That was well said. I mostly concur. I will say this about Phillip Rivers. In my career, he is the single most perplexing quarterback I've ever tried to decipher. From week to week and year to year, I'm never sure what to make of him because just when I say, oh, no, right?
Right.
Oh, no.
We saw last year. That happened. Last year happened, Skip.
It did. So I hark back to 2013. I was on the other show, First Take on ESPN, and we were actually at the NBA Finals, the fateful Ray Allen shot finals in Game 6. One day we had to do a promotion, and I forget what it was for, but we had to come up with the one athlete in all sports who most needed to win a ring, who didn't have one, obviously. And I chose, this is way back in 2013, Phillip Rivers. That was 7 years ago, probably more than 7 years ago. And he still doesn't have a ring, and he still hasn't been to a Super Bowl.
And he hadn't come close since that time he lost to the Patriots in the championship game.
Okay. Yet, this is just my gut feeling on this. There's something about Phillip Rivers that is transcendent because you watch him play, and it was funny last night listening to Troy Aikman, who was very close to Norv Turner, who was the head coach, obviously, for a while in San Diego. And so Troy said that he spent a whole training camp studying Phillip Rivers. And as Troy said, you can't even explain how the ball comes out because is it sidearm or I don't even know what it is. And so I kept watching closely last night. How's he doing that? But a lot of times it does come out, and even at age, she's almost 39, it comes out with some velocity and some accuracy. So his overall record as a starter is 129 and 104, which is pretty good. And he's been to 8 Pro Bowls, which is pretty great, actually. And so my gut feeling is that he belongs in the Hall of Fame just because he's Phillip Rivers, just because he's a guy who had a lot of great moments, but didn't have that moment. And yet, you know how I feel about ballots? To me, you're either in the Hall of Fame or you're not. I don't want to hear, does he go in the 4th ballot or the 8th ballot or whatever it is? I don't want to hear that Shannon Sharp went on the whatever ballot it was. Either you're in or you're not.
Well, they say the first ballot is for transcendent players. The Joe Montanas, the Deion Sanders, the Jerry Rices. But Skip, when you look at the era in which he played, did we ever say he was better than Brady, Manning, or Breeze?
No, obviously not.
Is he better than Big Ben?
No. He is not.
So, and now you got Russ, Mahomes. So at what point in time was he ever, people say, well, you know what? He's top 3, he's top 4, he's maybe even top 5. When you look at when he played, because he caught smack dab in the middle of Brady and Manning. And they were in the AFC. And then Big Ben was in the AFC.
There's something about Phillip Rivers that is transcendent to me as a character, with the funkiest delivery ever in the history of pro football.
It's almost like he shot put the button.
It's almost like it, but he's 6'5", so he gets away with it, with that sidearm thing.
Yes.
And he competes hard.
Oh, yeah.
And he trash talks hard, even though it's G-rated. But again, there's something about his body of work that is so intriguing that I think he deserves a bust in Canton.
Yes.
Now, again, is he transcendent first ballot? No, he's not transcendent that way as far as performance and achievement. But he's done a lot of really good things, and then he's had these collapses. Like in 2006, the Chargers went 14-2, and then they lost in their first round game, the divisional round.
To the Patriots.
Yeah, to the Patriots at home, 24-21. Right. Okay? He had a QBR that day of 20, did Phillip Rivers. And then in 2009, they went 13-3, and here came Rex Ryan and the Jets for the divisional round game after they had the bye, obviously, and they lost 17-14 at home. Well, it wasn't the end of the world, but still, you can't rise above. Then he tore his ACL at Peyton, and he basically outplayed Peyton on a torn ACL, even though Billy Volek had to finish for him, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next year, he came back and he beat Peyton again. So he basically beat Peyton back-to-back in 07 and 08. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And people, if you talk about the pantheon of the NFL, there's just something about Phillip Rivers, like he's a big guy.
Sometimes, Skip, he was just, his numbers, if he was not in the era of Brady and Manning.
Yep.
And Breeze, he would be fine. He just passed Dan Marino for 5th all-time in passing yards, and he needs 13 touchdowns to pass Dan Marino and to pass in touchdowns. But think about what was in that era. One guy went to 9 Super Bowls. One guy went to 4 Super Bowls. Breeze went to a Super Bowl and won. Yep. And the thing is that Breeze was in San Diego, and they got Phillip Rivers because Breeze wasn't. And so there's always going to be that comparison, Breeze to Phillip. There's always going to be the comparison. Big Ben, Eli, and Phillip Rivers.
That's true.
2 of those guys got 2 Super Bowls.
True.
1 of those guys got 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
Okay. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he'll throw a game at you like he did in 2018 on that Thursday night at Kansas City. Mahomes is on his way to winning MVP.
Right.
And Rivers goes in there and outguns him and drives them 60 yards at the buzzer, and they win the game on a 2-point conversion
Get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. But, Skip, and that's what's so puzzling about Phillip Rivers. You watch how he played last night, and he was in ultimate control. And then 3 weeks ago, he threw 3 interceptions.
I got it. But listen, last night at Tennessee against what I still think is a pretty good defense.
No, they defense.
I think it's pretty good.
Defense terrible, Skip.
He was pretty great last night.
He was. He was. But, Skip, they couldn't get off the field. I mean, Phillip was going up and down the field against that team. And I thought they were going to be able to generate a pass rush, the Titans, because they signed Vic Beasley, who's no longer there. And I don't know what happened to Jadeveon Clowney's pass rushing skills, Skip. But he's not the same at getting to the quarterback.
He blew up 1 4th down last night, but he did not get to the quarterback.
But that's not what they got him for. Right. They got him to put pressure on the quarterback, and we're not seeing enough of that. But back to Phillip Rivers, Skip. I think he's had an unbelievable career.
He has.
And clearly Frank Reich says, I think we're good enough as a team to really cause some noise in the playoffs. But we just don't throw the ball well enough. And so they went out and got Phillip Rivers, who was available. And it seems like it was a great move for the Chargers because it seems they found their quarterback. And it seems like it was a great move for the Colts because they seem to have found the quarterback at least for the next 2 years.
So they're sitting at 6-3, and they got the 4th seed right now.
Right.
I'm sure they're pretty happy with this.
Yeah. So it's going to be, like you said, when it comes to the quarterback is the position that's judged differently, Skip, when it comes to the Hall of Fame. So you're probably right. He probably will get in on the first ballot. But I look at Kurt Warner's career, and I say if he couldn't get in on the first ballot, I don't know. With 2 league MVPs, he had the 3 greatest passing Super Bowls in history before Brady came and, wiped them all away.
No, you got me. You're right.
So, but he's had a heck of a career.
He has.
And Big Ben is right there. Eli's right there. Mm-hmm. So right now, I don't know, Skip, who had the better draft, 83 or 2004?
83.
You just like they got the name. They got Elway, Marino, and Kelly.
Well, and the fact that Phillip Rivers is such a great guy, I just always find myself rooting for him.
He's an unbelievable guy. I did an interview with him a couple of times. He's great.
He's great. You see it in interviews. You hear it when he's mic'd up on the sidelines, which is always hilarious.
True. So he should go in the Hall of Fame for being a dad.